Today on Citizens Forum, we pay tribute to this fine gentleman. My memory does not serve me right of an Igbo leader who is never afraid. During his lifetime, he was never afraid. He never shied away from speaking up on what he thought was marginalization of Igbo. In 2023, my memory also does not serve me of an Igbo leader who was vocal as he was, talking about it was the turn of Igbo to produce the next president. So many things to talk about him. I also remember with fond memories that he was the first time Citizens Forum ever left the studios of Radio Sapiencia to go interview an individual in his home. He was kind enough, opened up his home to the Sapiencia team. I went there, interviewed him, and he had so much to say about the role of Igbo in yesterday's Nigeria, in today's Nigeria, and the role he thinks Igbo must play in the Nigeria that is to come. He was very vocal every time. Now, as a presenter of Citizens Forum, I know one thing for sure, that getting any prominent Igbo person to speak on any national issue is very difficult. Now, people are quick to say that this is something that is peculiar to politicians, but that is not true. It is difficult to get an Igbo trader to come talk about things that happen with importation and difficulties they face, because they always have something to fear. It is very difficult to get an Igbo trader to come talk about the issues in the market, because he's thinking about, well, which interest to protect and where his interests might align differently tomorrow. It is very difficult to get an Igbo landlord to come talk about the issues in an estate, because they are always afraid of what to say and what not to say. And so I will always miss that gentleman. Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife, it's been announced of his passing. Today on Citizens Forum, we look into his life and times. What really did he represent? What did he stand for? What kind of a man was he? What kind of a leader was he? Those who worked closely with him, what can they say about him? We'll also be talking about what the future of the Igbo struggle, if there is anything like that, post Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife. I'm ready. My guest, of course, was supposed to be here in the studios, but definitely is going to be a very busy time for Ohaneze Ndigbo and Imeobi. And my guest today cuts across both associations, and it's really a difficult time for them, running around and all of that, holding emergency meetings. But then he has promised to pick the phone once we put the call across to him to talk about the life and times of Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife. Like I said, I'm ready. My guest, I'm sure, is quite ready. We bet you're ready. My name is Jude Geoman, and this is welcoming you to today's edition of Citizens Forum. Of course, Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife went ahead. I forgot to add that. Yes, I talked about the university, but the Harvard University. That was where he went to get his master's and a PhD. That really speaks to his tenacity. Hello, good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning and welcome to Citizens Forum on Sapiencia's channel.
Thank you.
All right, my guest today is Chief Oseloka Eluomunoh. Many feathers to the cap he wears, but for the sake of this program, I'll simply introduce him in the aspects that he worked closely with the late Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife. He was a member of the 2014 Confab, where he also worked alongside Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife, also a member of Ohaneze Ndigbo, working closely with Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife, also a member of Imeobi, which is the highest decision-making body of Ohaneze Ndigbo, also working closely with the late Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife. Very difficult for me to talk about him as late, but then that is the reality of life, and that is what we have to deal with. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program once again.
Good morning, Jude. Thank you very much.
All right, let's begin with asking you what the late chief was like.
Jude, my brother, you see, when you introduce this program to me, you can see tears are now rolling down my eyes, because you are talking about a great man, a great son of Igbo land, never seen before. in this great land of Igbo. Ezeife was an exceptional Igbo man. Never say die. He believed so much in Igbo cause that nobody could push him around. And he spoke out bravely about Igbo cause. I feel so bad. I have tears all over my face now as I'm talking to you. But may his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen.
He was a great man. I have worked with Ezeife for many years. Many years. Like you introduced, we worked at Ohaneze when I was the president of Ohaneze Debo, Anambra State. We worked very closely because he believed so much on the Igbo cause. He believed so much on the Igbo cause, including the IPOB. He sympathized with the IPOB. And he was a great lover for Nnamdi Kanu. He believed that Nnamdi Kanu was doing a good cause, but he wanted it pursued in a different way, which we all supported. And thereafter, as a national officer for Ohaneze Debo, we also worked closely there as a member of IMOBI. You know, he was a member for more than 60 years as an elder, State Elders Council Advisory Committee. I was a member too. For more than 60 years, we worked 8 years with PDOB as members of Elders Council Advisory Committee. We worked under Obiano for 8 years, making it 16 years complete. We worked together as members of Elders Council, State Elders Council. And he is one person you can never hold back on what concerns the Igbo people. And he will never hide his feelings for you. Ezeife was a great man. And he was so jovial. He's a man you can never see him angry. It's always fun. It's always fun for him. You know? He was a great man, my brother. I don't know what to say again about him. He was a great Igbo man.
You know, my real first encounter with him was when he accepted graciously to be interviewed in his villa home. Now, I remember the events building up to that. It was an idea that I came up with to get to reach out to elder statesmen across the country, north, south, east, west, and interview them on the future, the past, the present, and the future of the country. Now, I'm not going to mention names, but I remember, you know, with great surprise how the people who gave me the contacts to these people, because right then we got to interview, what's his name now, the former governor of Kaduna State, the late now Balarabe Musa, and also got to interview Alhaji Tanko Yekesai. And one thing stood out for all of these men, when they were always interested to know who was the Igbo, who was going to be their Igbo counterpart on that platform. And once his name was mentioned by me, there was this level of respect they had. It was only Tanko Yekesai who said, okay, he disagreed with him on something, but then he said, there was a question he said I should ask him. And that was counting down to 2023, where the late Chief Ezeife was championing the Igbo presidency project. And he said I should ask him which Igbo son was supported by Ndi-Igbo. That if I can ask him that question, and if that person can be presented to him, that he was going to support such a person. You know, but then that showed how the kind of respect. I also remember when Senator Shehu Sani was also on this program. Senator Shehu Sani also expressed the kind of respect he had for him. And there was something he said about him. He thinks that makes him different. I'm not going to say that because it might sound too sensitive for some people. But the truth remains, it showed how much he was respected, not just by Ndi-Igbo, but also, you know, the non-Igbo Nigerians. And the question I'm going to ask you, why I'm saying all of this is, Today he's gone, and this is a reality we have to live with. But then let's talk about his struggle, his fight. I remember when I went to his home, one book he gave me was, I've forgotten the name now, but it had something to do with him believing that an Igbo son should be the president of Nigeria. And he argued beautifully in the book. First of all, he argued, tried to go into the minds of those who thought maybe an Igbo candidate will mean disaster for Nigeria, and he debunked that. And then he went ahead to put forward his own argument as to why an Igbo son will not just be best for Igbo land, but the best for Nigeria. He even went ahead to argue that an Igbo president a president of Igbo extraction will not even be so wonderful for Igbo, but for Nigeria, and his focus was Nigeria. So today he's gone. Do you see a continuation of this wonderful legacy?
Well, to tell you the truth, Jude, I'm here to search for such a replacement. It will be is one man that I know that is going to go on with his Igbo legacy, but not as far as Ezeife, because Peter will be so gentle and civilized that in fact this man, if you want it crooked, he will give it to you. If you want it smooth, he will give it to you. Ezeife was an all-rounder. If you want peace, he gives you peace. If you want trouble, he gives you trouble. That is the man he is. You cannot intimidate Ezeife. You cannot talk to him anyway as far as the bones are concerned, and he will leave you to go out without hearing from him. You cannot do that. He's a tireless Igbo fighter. This is one man. We cannot find a replacement of every other person pretending to be an Igbo fighter here. They are pretending. They are pretenders. They can't come out in the open to do what Ezeife did because they are afraid of what will happen to them or what. Ezeife was not afraid of what will happen to him because he was so self-assured, let me use that word. He was so self-assured that he was not bothered about what he will get from you or what you give to him in compensation. No. Ezeife was not that. He would talk to you the way he wanted, and that was it. He was not afraid of consequences or what will befall of him or whatever. No. Ezeife was not taken away. Ezeife was a typical Igbo man, unrestricted Igbo man, faultless Igbo man. He was one person who served as a governor, and after that he refused to be silenced. Not even the military could silence Ezeife. Until his death, he was still an Igbo man. Forget about all these people who are pretending. People who tell you that Igbo man should not be the president of Nigeria. Who said so? Who told them that? That Igbo man cannot be the president of Nigeria? Who was the founder of this country? Is it not the Igbos who founded this country? Who? So who can tell us that the Igbo man cannot be president of Nigeria? Which Nigeria? Which Nigeria are they talking about? Is it the same Nigeria we founded? This same Nigeria Igbo man brought up to international level? Now we can be relegated to the background and Igbo man is there supporting them? It's very shameful. I respect Ezeife. Even in his death, I will continue to respect him. He was a great man. All of us will pass through that passage, but he has gone first. And I'll continue to respect him until I go through that passage myself. He was a great man. I'm here to see another Igbo man who will be as Ezeife, who will be as outspoken as Ezeife. Not pretending not to pretend as if you're no. Come out and fight for Igbos. That is what Ezeife lived for. And that is what he died for.
Amen. That was what he lived and died for. Now, I've presented this program for a decade plus, and I'll say this: I look at the Southeast, and I want to divide the Southeast and people who hold public opinion in two. Now, we have a set, and this is where my respect for him, and that is, we just have to do this for him today. Where my respect for him really stems is this. I'm used to a category of Ndibo who would want to come out and say to everybody that they are vocal and they are fearless, but then they are wild. They are wild, they are uninformed, they are irrational, and the analysis, wonderful. I just don't know what to say. But then you have an Ezeife, right? And I don't know how he was able to combine these two worlds. First of all, he was very informed. He was very clear about what the past, the present, and the future should be. I recall my interview with him, the first and the second. And every time I ask him that question, does he think balkanizing Nigeria is the solution for Ndibo? He had a clear no to that. That was what he thought. He was not afraid to say it. He was not afraid to say it in the media. He was not afraid to say it in his home. He was not afraid to say it in meetings. I mean, he thought that Ndibo need, and what is best for Ndibo is a Nigeria, but a Nigeria that is just, that is fair, that is equitable. And how he was able to do that and still remain best friends with people who share a radically different point of view, like Nnamdi Kanu, for instance. I mean, Nnamdi Kanu, even when he was a free man, paid him so much respect and would go to visit him. Even though he was very clear, he was not for balkanizing Nigeria. But then there is a flip side to it, and that is where I find very interesting. Where you also have people with privilege like him, you know, whether they are governors, whether they are ministers, whether they are past or present. I also recall that when we wanted to have that program, in respect to certain people who hold certain positions, he said, no, he is not best to speak on these issues. I told him there and then that the problem with these names he was mentioning is this. And I told him my experience. I said, these people you are mentioning will not want to speak up. I'm not going to mention these names. But he insisted, no, that these people, these are fine men. They can speak up. I made a call to all of them. He advised me to pick a call across to these people. None of these people wanted to share their opinion, openly about 2023 and Ndibo and all of that issues. When I came back to him, he said, well, since they have refused, he was going to do that, and he did it. So, on the other hand, you have privileged Ndibo never wanting to speak out. Or when they speak out, well, I leave it at that. Now, how he was able to combine this worries me. Really baffles me. Now, the question I'm going to ask you is more of a challenge. Because however we want to talk about it, he's gone, right? But then, how can those of you who have worked closely with him, I recall he was talking about a project before he died. I've forgotten the name of the project, but it was a project that will bring in, prominent Igbos, and it was going to be a reawakening of the Igbo-ness, spiritually, politically, musically, and everything. And I asked him, is this an Ohanese thing? He said, no, it's not an Ohanese thing. That this was something he was really committed to. So the question I'm going to ask, for those of you who now remain and work closely with him, what is the fate of this dream he had? I think he said it was launched in Enugu, or did he say it was going to be launched in Enugu? I can't remember now. But what is the fate of that dream? I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that project has not been launched. Okay. And it was very close to being launched before he became sick. But see, the project he was talking about is the project of Onyahana 1 year.
Yes. And
back home, that spirit of homeness. You understand? If you are going out to develop somebody else's home, you should not forget about your own home. That is the spirit Ezeife was having. That we should come back and develop Anambra State, develop Igbo land. Not just facing other people's homes and developing their states. And then they are fighting you, in spite of all the contributions you are making in their region, they are still fighting you. So you better come home and do it at home. That is the project. Come home. Nobody is asking Nigerians to live wherever they are. But when you are investing there, also remember that there must be a fallback position. And that fallback position is your home. Whatever you build in your region will be there for you. Whatever you build in somebody's region might not be there for you. Just like the incident in Port Harcourt during the Civil War, and it was tagged abandoned property.
Yeah.
So it can happen again. And look at what is happening in Lagos today. That was what Ezeife was fighting for. Ezeife remained in Igboukwu, go to Abuja, come back. He never tried to escapade, to travel the whole of Nigeria, investing all that. But you know, he has investments here in Anambra State. Even here in my village, he has an investment in my village, a hospital investment. He said with his brother. Ezeife was a federal pamsec before he ventured into politics. So he's not a small man. You cannot say he's a misfit. No, you cannot say that about Ezeife. Ezeife was a complete Igbo man. Made up Igbo man, fully made up. Self-sufficient. Never dependent on anybody. If you go to Igbo, you see what he did in Igbo there. He was investing on medical projects everywhere. He has one in my village, Chukwuemeka. You know, so this is a man who believed in the Igbo project until he died. And I hope that those who are still remaining will take off from where he stopped. The Iwaya was talking about it last time, but he was not in favor of Igbos leaving wherever they are coming back. No, I'm not in favor of that too. But let that be a fallback position for you. Let us not be caught unawares like we did. It was done during the war. There must be a fallback position that if anything happens to you, you just come home. And we won't feel bad. Unlike the refugee situation we had in Biafra, when the whole place was littered with the refugees from all over Nigeria who had no place to stay. They had no roof. They had no houses in their homes. But they had fantastic buildings all over Nigeria. But back home here, they have nothing. So he doesn't want that kind of situation to happen again. We must be prepared this time around. It's just we want one Nigeria. All of us want to stay in this country and be part of the development. It is better for a Igbo man to remain in Nigeria and develop in Nigeria than succeeding from the country. But that device, if they don't want us, then we have to find our way out. You understand? But we don't want to leave. But if they want to send us away, then we'll go. We're self-sufficient. We can live under any environment. We have tried it before, and we never suffered. So it can happen again. So what Ezeife lives for will continue, and we believe that there are people who will also give themselves out, like Ezeife did, and then make sure that the Igbo projects are realized. I think so. That project will still go on.
Yeah, I'm a very optimistic person. I think so. But then I also know that there is only one way it can be done. And interestingly, the Igbo people, you know, pride themselves with having roots with the Jewish people. You know, the Israelis, the Jewish people.
That's what we are. That's what we are.
All right, that's what we are. So let's talk about the Jews. Let's talk about the Jews, right? And let's talk about the lessons a generation learns from a bitter history. And so we look at the Jews and what happened to them in Germany. And so the generation of my fathers might also look at the Igbo race and then say, okay, yeah, we had the Biafran War. Bitter experience both sides. But then let's look at what the Jews have done after the genocide, after, you know, the gas chambers, after the treatment with Hitler. Now, what did these guys do? And let's not forget, they also had a problem. A very big problem then of neglecting motherland, Israel. They had that problem because they were prosperous wherever they go to, whether it was in Germany, whether it was in Europe, whether it was in America.
Everywhere.
everywhere, right? But then what did they do from that, arising from the ash of that? Then there came up a group of people, and let's not pretend about this. Those were the elders at that time, those who survived this, and they say never again. And you look at it, Ndibo, we also have something we also call never again. We say Ozemena. But unlike what the Jews did, unlike what Ndibo are doing today, mouthing this, using this as a political slogan, and using this to, attack whoever we want to attack, and using this to insult whoever we want to insult, the Jews do differently. And that is, those who believe in this are now those whom we call the Zionists. It's not who we call. They are very proud about it. They don't hide it. We saw the President of America the other day say, you don't need to be a Jew to be a Zionist. I am a Zionist, right? And so these Zionists are simply a group of people who decide that we are going to make motherland or fatherland strong. History is there for anybody who wants to go and read about how they came back to motherland, Israel, and brick by brick, started building a city. Even from having to buy land, even from having to use the influence of whatever powers they had behind them to get land, they were doing all of that brick by brick. But one very interesting and marked difference between what the Jews have done and what Ndibo, especially our elders and our leaders, and we must say these things the way they are, is this: while they have never made the mistake of saying, all the Jewish sons, come back home, blah, 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 wherever you're being hated, come back home, they simply preach that message. Dominate wherever you are. There is a spirit of Jewish excellence. There is a spirit of Jewish fraternity. So whether you are in Africa, or you are in America, or you are in Europe, wherever you are, you must make that remittance. But then there are a group of people who understand that who they are protectors of Israel, and who they are those who are going to be the strong men to hold the home down. And that's what they're doing. These ones are at home, ensuring the home is strong. But then those who are outside, you even have Jewish children. You have Jewish men who have never been to Israel. I mean, they are 60 today. They've never been to Israel. But they have it in their heart. We are Zionists and we pursue that agenda. What is missing, if you look at both stories, just one thing is missing. And that is leadership. In memory and to pay tribute to this fine father of us who we lost, what would you suggest we do differently? And this has to be a leadership thing. This is not a masses thing. The masses will never be able to comprehend this kind of an idea and push it forward. It is always going to be the elite. It's always going to be those who have access to the best kind of resources who are going to do this. How do you suggest this happens? So whether an Igbo child is in America, or an Igbo child is in Katsina, or an Igbo child is in Kenya, they know that there is somewhere called Alibo, and this is what they owe to this place. This is not happening in Igbo land today.
Well, let me tell you, it is not yet late. Because the Jews passed through what we are passing through now.
Yeah.
We have not gotten to the extreme. It was when the Jews got to the extreme that they said never again.
Yeah.
And never can you take the life of one Jewish man and get away with it. You see what is happening with Hamas and Israel?
Yeah.
They killed 1,400. But Israel has killed more than 60,000 of them. They said never again. After the civil war, the Igbo man should say never again. And then prepare for it. It was during the Treblinka suicide, the killing of 6 million Jews at the Treblinka chambers, that the Israelis said never again, and they were finding a home for themselves. After that, how many Israelis came back initially? Not more than 600,000.
True.
Came back to Israel. And today is a big nation, expanding, and you cannot stop them. That is the same spirit the Igbo man should have. There are Jewish settlements everywhere. The Americans, 1/3 of them are Jews. England, Even in Germany today, up in Germany today, the Jews are still there.
Yeah.
They refuse to go back. You know, even after that, some of them are still there, but they remember they have a home. That always they fall back. They all agree on one thing: we must build a great Israel. We must build a great nation known as Israel. And never again will anybody humiliate Israel in this world. You won't believe it that some heavy weapons America is using today is manufactured in Israel.
True.
The type of weapons that are produced in Israel today, you can't find it anywhere in the whole world. And that is why they are feared. Israel took 6 countries at the same time. 6 nations and defeated them all. What is their population? They are God's own children. The Igbos are God's own children, whether you like it or not. Nothing will ever hurt us. We cannot leave this country for anybody because we founded this country before others came. So they will leave this country, we will not leave it. Where are we going to leave it for? Where are we? Do we have any other place to go to? There are Igbos all over the world. The population of Igbo man is the highest in Nigeria. That is considering those outside Nigeria, not those within Nigeria. Igbo population is half of Nigerian population. If you're going to consider Igbos living outside Nigeria, there are Igbos all over the world, everywhere in the whole world. And they are thriving and making it. They should remember they have a home. They should say after the Civil War, never again shall the Igbo man be caught unawares like that. And we should come home, build home, even when we're outside. The Jews in America are not planning to go home tomorrow. There are Jews in Russia. There are Jews in Soviet Union today. There are Jews in Poland.
Yeah.
Even after the Polish War. But they are there because they want to build a very formidable Israeli nation. That is the spirit Igbo man should have. And that was the spirit Ezeife lived for. And we should emulate Ezeife as an Igbo man. Because this whole discussion is just because of Ezeife. The way he lived, the life he lived, and the kind of support he gave to the Igbo nation. We should all go there and we should believe in it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I think that's a beautiful place to leave it because it is both an advice and also a challenge. I want to thank you very much, Chief Oseloka Eluomunoh, for taking time out to talk about the life and times of late Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife. It means so much to Citizens Forum, and we won't forget this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right, Citizens Forum on Sapiencia's channel. Of course, the numbers to call today to be part of the program, 090-3919-5402 and 090-218-77207, sorry. 090-3919-5402 and 090-218-77207. These are the numbers to call to be a part of the program today. Of course, today on Citizens Forum, we pay tribute to a fine gentleman, to a father, a grandfather, and of course, a dear friend of Citizens Forum, late Chukwuemeka Ezeife. Hello. All right, we lost that call. This is the time to call in and talk about his life and times, especially what he stood for, not only for the Nigerian, not only for Nigeria, but also for Ndibo. This was something he never shied away from talking about. He was never afraid to take a stance on any national issue. And we definitely will miss him. We really losing role models and father figures And role models and father figures, we're really losing them fast. And this is one loss too many. This is one shoes. I mean, I couldn't think of any. I thought maybe it was because of my age and my level of exposure. But then also talked to my guest today, and he says he can't also think of a replacement. To have known him is to know that this is one big hit to the Igbo nation. And as we see tributes pouring from all over the country, it is very clear what people think about him. And I mean, it's very clear what people think about him, the kind of life he lived. I remember when we went to his house, then he had just lost his wife and he was mourning, but he was gracious enough to open up his home to us to come interview him. Of course, that really is the kind of person he is, and that is how strongly he feels about the Igbo project. Always ready to lend an ear, to lend an arm, to lend whatever it took to push the Igbo project forward. We definitely will miss him. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, welcome to the program, sir.
Mr. Ezekiel, reaching for monitor.
Yeah. You're welcome, sir.
So, at the right age of 85, as women, we will have wished to live above 100 years. Because such a person, to find it again, my brother, it's not easy. Considering the crop of leaders we have across the nation, both in diaspora. He's a man that speaks truth to power. And bet you me, if not because he was breastfeeding, I think he was interested on the case on Friday. Perhaps if he was up and doing it, he would be in the court. And probably in his sick bed, he was listening and trying to know, but eventually he couldn't make it. We have lost a voice in Igbo land. Now the voice that we speak in the morning, change in the afternoon, come back in the night, change again. It doesn't, he's calculating, he's eloquent, and whenever he speaks, listening to him, you get something from. In fact, the book has been closed. That's where I will just describe our daddy and Papa Ezeife. Think of Mbazlike. Think of the other one that is the other man, our elderly, the one that is still in mortuary, if I'm not mistaken. These are people, when they talk, I cherished him. I cherished to listen to him. Whenever I saw his name anywhere, I have to go through the article to know what he's saying. And there's a whole lot of sense. Now the question is, what are the lessons we the living will learn?
Okay.
Not everybody that dies, people talks about him positively. Are you aware of that?
Of course, we are all aware of that.
There are people who will die, people who will rejoice. But look at how everywhere, within and outside the country, the queen have been poured upon this fine, refined leader, refined gentleman, refined politician. Yeah. People that politics is all about the game. He's the man that tells you how it is. Yeah. He's not the one that changes party left and right. He has tasted power. Unfortunately, the wife died. I don't know whether they have been buried. And then now, before now, they buried somebody in their place.
She has been buried.
Okay. Before there was somebody they buried. Before the wife died. Either the wife of his brother or what.
Okay.
So it has not been easy for them to become this period. But I'm thanking God that they lived their life. That whatever he is, I think he should be happy that he is outspoken, that his words are taken, not for granted. Don't mind the federal government. Who doesn't want to listen to? If they have listened to such people like Ezeife, then Basili case, and our late Papa, there's one that they are planning the burial. I've forgotten his name. I think things will have changed. I just pray that God will console the family and the entire Igbo land. For me, there's no replacement for Ezeife, because those I'm seeing that want to talk, you can't count on their words. You can't stand on whatever they said. If you stand on he talks, he went physically. Imagine that there are few who will patronize us in Abuja. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Will have been flown abroad. But look at him dying in Nigeria, in Abuja. Not that he was flown to India, flown to London, flown to America. He has that capacity as an ex-governor, help we know.
Yeah.
But I think he preferred staying down here to patronize whatever we have. I think he died at the right age when God wanted him to die. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Let nobody make mistake of that. He's not a small boy. It's something years. It's a whole lot of years. If I'm sure of living to that age, my brother, I will come to the studio and give you some drinks you will like. So let us, in the midst of mourning his demise, let us serve a lesson to other people so acclaimed leaders who are betrayers. Let me tell you, I don't know the party he belongs to. Are you getting it? But I've not seen him any day, anywhere, changing his words. When I think it was in their own time, it was SDP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, SDP.
Yes. And she's dead.
Babangida midwifed.
Babangida midwifed.
Yeah, third Republic.
Abacha cancelled the whole thing.
Yeah, November 1993. Abacha struck. Yeah.
Are you getting it? But he has remained resolute. Just like the. I listened to one of the teachers this morning. They were calling a comment on him. Even when this democracy was shaky, those that ran away, he stood. Stand still in Nigeria. And look at him today. So I think there is new crop of politicians. Learn from this man. He's not selfish. I've not met him one-on-one. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
But I've been reading about it. I used to pass his environment. I've not for one day enter his house. But from what he has said and I read, he's not self-centered. Even his environment, if you are passing there, it was operated they come and maybe do some patch work.
Yeah.
Are you getting it?
Yeah.
So that they are according that respect. But government should understand that anybody that has served this country, or served his people, or served Igbo land, should be respected in all ramifications. If there are things that ought to be fixed in the environment, fix it, because that person merited it. Are you getting it?
All right.
It's not a shouting type, come and do the command. He talks for everybody, not for personal reason.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, we just lost the other call. All right, our Still Citizens Forum, of course, just to talk about the life and times of the late Chief Ezeife. Like my last caller was saying, and I'm sure many of us can remember, but for those who can't, he was former governor of Anambra State, and that was in 1992. We remember the MK Abiola, the Hope 92 campaign and all of that, and June 12th, all of that. Now, the way Babangida structured that election, governors and other local council leaders had emerged first, okay? And so what Nigerians were waiting for was who was going to become president. And so the late Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeife was, and he won the election as governor of Anambra State. That was in 1992. And so they had taken their oath of office. They had gone into office just waiting for who would be president, because that was the Babangida midwife Third Republic. That was the idea, and that was the structure of those elections. The president will come, and then there will be, there will be full cabinet. But that was never to be, because not only was that election annulled, but then Abacha struck November 17th, 1993. Abacha struck, and that put a hold on that. So we came back to the Fourth Republic after the death of Abacha. Of course, after the death of Abacha, Abdulsalami Abubakar became head of state. And so Abdulsalami Abubakar now midwifed the Fourth Republic. And that is why when people talk today, they say, well, 1999 Constitution was the Constitution we have, right? It's a military gift to Nigeria, because that Constitution was written under him. I mean, he set up the dudes who wrote that Constitution and all of that. So, 1999, we came back to the Fourth Republic, and he also served as special advisor politics to the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo. So, he really has paid his dues and cut his state when it comes to governance in Nigeria. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much, Geoman.
Yes.
I'm calling you from Onitsha.
All right. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. I'm highly disturbed in the sense that men are leaving and we are not getting any replacement. Or rather, the replacements are not doing enough for us to be convinced that they are really working for us, for the Igbo interest to be precise. Let me also felicitate with the family of Chukwuemeka Ezeife and Ambarians at large on the demise of this great son of Igbo, a man that always stands for the truth, a man that always calls a spade, and a man that understands that charity begins at home, a man that understands the Nigerian state, understand what Nigerian state is doing. It's a man that we are going to be. That is why I said I'm disturbed. Men are leaving, and the replacement is not forthcoming. Men like this, you hardly see them. You hardly see them. It normally comes in 2 decades or 3 decades. We have not finished mourning the passing on of Chukwuemeka Eluomunoh, a man also that have the Igbo race at heart. Now we are not talking about, also look at Mbazika Meiji. These are great men that are leading us. And the people you have around here, are they fitting into their shoes? The answer to me is no. I've not seen any fitting into their shoes. If really that you have men that are fall into this category or fit into these shoes of the likes of Mbazika Meiji, Chukwuemeka Ezeife, Chukwuemeka Eluomunoh, then to me, what is the treatment being given to the Igbos in the state Nigeria? Nigerian state must have everything. So I think men are leaving, and we need to ask God Almighty for replacement. We really need to call on God for replacement because men are everywhere, but we need real men that will be able to defend the cause of what we believe in. Men that will defend our cause. Men that will, set the pace so that we follow. Right. Men that will be able to guide the youth that we may tread on the right path. So all I'm trying to say this morning is that I am disturbed, and I believe every right-thinking Igbo man also have to be disturbed on this, latest developments that have befallen the Igbo race. So I think just like your guests on call have said, we must have to rise up and say, Ozemezena. And how do we go about it? We can't continue to running from pillar to post. If you develop this particular region, they are being chased away. Igbo should think on, just like the Israelites. Though we have not gotten to the peak of where they have gotten to. But we must not wait until we get to that level before we begin to think on. Igbo should bring down, if the Igbos did what Nnewi people are doing, bet you me everything will be understandable. So if the Igbos could be able to bring down 70% of their properties down here, bet you me most of these issues will be a thing of the past. So I just want to urge them that today is still early, and I open that we really need to say Ozemezena. And we can't wait until we get to the point of Hitler or whoever from Germany killing over millions of Jews before we could get it right. We could get it right by looking at the whole thing, the whole scenario, and then chant the way forward. That is why I say that we need really to ask God Almighty for replacement or greater men than did this who have passed on, to be
All right. I'm sorry. We are completely out of time.
It's okay. I'm almost done.
All right.
So I think God really have to come to our rescue, because if they continue to go this way without replacement, that means it will get to the worst. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, and God bless you. All right. I have so many things to say, and I can't finish saying them today. But for what he represented, what he meant, I mean, I've had private conversations with him, and I'll simply say this, and this is what I want to say about his life. The very little I was privileged to meet him, and this is it. You know, one of the greatest mistakes Igbo ever make in thinking, because actions come from thinking. You know, the reality, whatever reality exists, comes from thinking, the level of thinking, the quality of thinking, you know, the mindset. The greatest mistake in the mindset of a vast majority of Igbo is that fallacy. I don't know where it comes from, that to be right, the other person needs to be wrong. You know, that two people, two different opinions can't be both contending, divergent, and still all correct. That seems to be where we have shot ourselves on the foot. And that is why we see the level, the massive level of destruction which the late Chukwuemeka Ezeife was very worried unto death. The idea that for my opinion to stand, then your opinion needs to fall under. And this is the thinking we take into politics. This is the thinking we take into business. This is the thinking we take into, it is so wrong. We all can be right. I mean, for those who believe whatever, we all can be right. But then, the whole essence of fraternity and brotherhood and sisterhood and, you know, regionhood and statehood and all of that idea, the whole concept of Igbo should be. And so with all of these different opinions, with all of these different ideas, how can we put them into a melting point and ensure that everybody is better off for it? We'll continue to talk about all of these ideas and how we can pieces all of these ideas and make it work for us, those of us who are still alive. So when we leave, the next generation will be better for it. Thank you for making this happen. I sincerely thank my guests. My name is Jude Geoman, and Citizens Forum will be here same time, same station next week. We say rest in peace to the soul of the late Chukwuemeka Ezeife.